Come with me to the Science Museum in Kensington, London, and I had a great time here, and I would definitely recommend for anyone who's exploring the idea of becoming an engineer, getting into technology, getting into science, for inspiration. So this is me just entering the museum. Walk in, pass a long queue because I bought my tickets online and it's completely free. And here's just a quick overview of the whole Science Museum. In this museum, there were so much to find. There were infrastructure to do with transport, railway, maths, science, computing, so much more. So I started off in the ground floor where I found loads of infrastructure to do with railway. So from steam turbines, how they use coal to generate energy to keep the trains moving, and most importantly, the innovation cycles of constantly improving, constantly trying to make it better. It was super interesting seeing how they thought back in that time. Next, I saw an Enigma machine. And an Enigma machine, for those who don't know, was used in World War II to turn normal messages into secret codes by swapping letters. And here you can see me playing around with that technology. Here's me walking up the steps. There was 3 floors, so plenty of opportunity to get your steps in. Then I moved on to the computing era. So this is a quantum chip, which is very much now in. And then we moved into old-fashioned computers slash calculators. They looked very similar then because mostly, I believe, computers was used for calculating. But you can see how far we had come from large infrastructure to our small pocket-sized calculators slash computers. Moving on to the information age, aka 6 networks that changed our world. And here you have different types of cables, how data travels through the globe, underseas, cables, and you had loads of information about that as well. Here is a close-up of those cables. Some of these cables that are under the sea. You can see how there's different types of materials, coppers, wires inside that, and all of that again helps data travel across the world. We also saw a very old television, and that was of the Queen's coronation, and then moving on to old-fashioned styled telephones. So these would have been how you communicate and speak to people, and you used to have human operators that would switch between lines so that you can communicate with who you want to speak to. Next section was medical devices. Now, this I found super interesting. I do not, as an engineer, work with loads of medical devices or medical technology. However, I think this is an area that a lot of people miss as a career opportunity, that there is a lot of innovation, technology, especially now, data analytics that are needed within the medical and healthcare field. And again, it was really interesting to see how they used to take x-rays, how they used to take heart rates, how they used to use microscopes and see things close up, and how much we have changed. This was how they used to model things they couldn't see with the naked eye. This was how they would measure heart rates. So there'll be like an oscillator attached to your heartbeat. And these are more models, again, things they couldn't see with naked eyes, and different types of technologies. This was the old style scanner, so X-ray scanner or CT scanner, instead of how we normally take scans now. So again, big change in the technology, and these were the old beds, which kind of looks very similar. Then I moved on to technicians section. Now, technicians often get confused with engineers. They do a lot of hands-on work, and the kind of career they have, you don't necessarily need to go to university. They are normally the kind of career paths that you can learn on the job. For example, being a computing technician, working very closely with specific specialist electronic equipment. You have production technicians, people who work on sets with movies, helping with all of the technology that you use on production, such as cameras. And then you have plumbing technicians, you have robotics technicians. Moving on to engineering section. So here we saw the kind of work that engineers do, the projects they've worked on. I saw loads of prototypes, some highlights pioneering engineers, as well as the day-to-day life of engineering was the famous BT Tower. Moving on to the mathematics section, here was an accounting calculator, so you can calculate the national income from this. It's something economists use. You had old style calculators, abacus, cash registers. Again, you can see how far we've come from having to bring those huge infrastructure to basic small computer and pocket-sized computers and calculators. There was much more in the museum. This was a lot of prototypes for transport vehicles, planes, cars, buses, and there was much more to see. But that brings us to the end of this vlog. Thanks so much for watching, and consider subscribing to